Thank you, Chamberlain. Yes, we're talking about politics, but, we're looking more at those who regulate the affairs of politicians, those who ensure that when we go to the polls to cast our votes count, and that's the electoral bodies. Only recently, a forum of state electoral bodies paid a visit to the INEC chairman, I think looking for areas of collaboration. And the INEC chairman was pretty forthright about what he expects from the state electoral bodies. He says that he believes that there should be financial autonomy for state electoral bodies, and he also thinks that the laws guiding state electoral bodies need to be more streamlined. Well, we have this morning joining us to talk about what the issues are and what we should be looking for if we're looking to reform state electoral bodies. Or should we even be looking to reform them at all? Shouldn't they be perhaps branches of the National Electoral Body? Of course, that might require some constitutional amendment. It might be ideas that we'll hear this morning. We have with us Dr. J. Samuels, who is former National Chairman, Alliance for New Nigeria. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. For having me this morning.
Yeah, we also have with us Honorable Ogene Ego, who is a member of the 9th Assembly and also a member of ECOWAS Parliament. You're welcome, Honorable.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here once more.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts as INEC is seeking financial autonomy for states? For state electoral bodies, will that help in ensuring that state electoral bodies are truly independent? Because it's supposed to be state independent electoral bodies. Oftentimes, that independence is something that is always very questionable. People, question very often the elections that are conducted by state electoral bodies and do not have confidence in them. Do you think a financial autonomy will help? Let's start with the Honorable Ego.
Yeah, first, financial autonomy will help. But I think the thing at this stage would have been to allow INEC to conduct all elections. Because there's no election that has been conducted by the state electoral body that have been adjudged to be free and fair. In fact, what they do at the state electoral level, any election they do, they win 100%. States have never conducted any election where you say that the opposition party won. Even in the area where the opposition party is having the Senate, the House of Rep, and all other positions. So it's a problem because it's happening across the entire country. And it looks like state A will say, if state B takes all their position, why will I not do that? So the state electoral body, at the moment, they are not bodies that are reliable. And maybe give them financial autonomy will help now. But I think what we need to do is to allow INEC to conduct the election across board, because INEC already has infrastructure. They are in every local government. In every local government, there is an INEC officer and at least about maybe 10 or 15 INEC staff. They have everything going. They'll be doing the election in those areas. So why are we duplicating function? Because what is going to happen is INEC has staff in all the local government. The state will now go and employ staff in the local government to conduct an election. And at the end of the day, duplication, you're wasting money. And then, of course, as we now know, the state electoral officer, their performance is not anything to write home about. So I think what we have to do, let's allow INEC at the federal conduct election around the whole state. All they do is employ local people, which they already have in every state.
There are many questions around your proposition, but let me quickly take the thoughts of Dr. J. Samuels on that. Do you share his views?
Okay, I don't entirely share his views, but I agree with him somewhat that the state independent electoral commissions, they are only independent in name only. Because, we all know, maybe partly that's the reason why he's advocating for INEC to take over the activities. But like you rightly pointed out in your intro, for that to happen, you need to tweak the constitution because they have been given the mandate to do that at the local government level. So instead of us, for me, I would rather want us to look at the state independent electoral commissions and see what can be done to make them do the work they can do, because INEC already as a state is already burdened. In fact, being a former party official, we have interacted with INEC. INEC is not even interested in taking over that responsibility. They shy away from it. And so I understand why the INEC chairman is advocating for financial autonomy, and that that financial autonomy, if it can be given to them, is one sure way where the state can, the state CX can actually be independent. But how do we attain financial autonomy for them? We all know that the states control the purse, and and that's one of the reasons why we see that the CX, they only dance to the whims and caprices of the state governors. A lot of them have been complaining, a lot of the CX in several states. For instance, they don't even have full-time staff. They only operate with ad hoc staff. You don't have kind of progression within the CX structure. People they're just hanging in there. What the government wants to. So can we? Because in Nigeria we like to run away from problems and looking for just let's say palliatives. Why can't we tackle the problem head on and see what is the constraint? Why can't we grant them financial autonomy and look at ways of, if you want to do a first line charge or whatever it is, or constitutionally, how do we get this financial? Because the thing is that a lot of the people in leadership positions, especially the state governors, even people that are not governors now, they see beyond what we are seeing currently, and most of them are like, okay, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. So there's no really wholehearted, concerted efforts to actually get this done. If there's that political will and commitment from, because at that level, like you said in your intro, governance is from the grassroots up. And if we want to get it right, we have to make sure that the foundation where the communities and the local government, where our people live, we get it at that level. And once you are building on the wrong building blocks, you can never get it right.
Indeed. People will say that just yesterday we were having a conversation about involving young people, and also this morning as well, how to get that grassroots level right. Why it is that, I think the conversation was around political parties and whether or not they should be deregistered. And we were asking why political parties are more interested in elections that are at the center, especially when they're small and their focus can be more on the grassroots. And this might be part of the issues. If elections are not credible or are seen not to be credible or don't even happen at all. Because if we were to do a poll of, how many states actually take the pains to conduct, whether they're shambolic or not, to even conduct the local government elections for local government chairmen and councilorships, we'll be very surprised that perhaps only a third of states in Nigeria would even, fit into that bracket. So there are huge questions in that regard. However, when you look at it, isn't it more a question of efficiency? Isn't that the issue that Honorable Ego is raising? The issue of efficiency. Because as far as it's concerned, we're duplicating functions. If INEC already has offices in local government and at the state level, why can't those bodies, conduct elections on behalf of the state? Why can't we just merge and ensure that perhaps this time around the states will be mandated to fund rather than the federal government funding elections that are happening in states?
Well, that's why I say, the reason why he and some other people are advocating for that, because they look at the efficiency. But we have to go back and take a step back and look at even the INEC itself. Are they efficient in the way they do their things? INEC is not efficient. So somebody that is already overburdened. Yes,
go ahead. Yeah.
So an institution that's already overburdened with conducting states and national elections, federal elections, now want to give them another task, which they are not. It's like somebody's unwilling to accept that task. So they are not. They are trying to achieve efficiency in their current mandate, and now want to add further body. I don't think it will work because they are already reluctant in doing it. What we should look at also is the total electoral reforms, even from INEC before we now go down to the state. Because some of the things that are really fundamental to all of this is that even our election processes. Because from time immemorial that we have been voting, the people that are voting, that are less than 10% of the eligible voting population. And that is a major problem. Why are people not voting? And why are people not registering? If we can go back and have a system where our electoral, because the rigging is not on the day of election. It starts from actually the registration. Can we go back to a process where people can? You are working here now. I don't know where you live. For instance, 9 to 5 or 9 to 10, whatever you are your place of work. If it's time to register for voting now, you have to register around where you work. But when it comes for time for voting, you have to be in your whatever.
In your house,
and
yeah.
according to our rules and guidance for voting, you cannot move from where you live to where. So that in itself can even discourage you from going to, because you know that you are not going to vote. So why can't there be a registration process where, irrespective of where, you can register anywhere and vote anywhere?
Which is the issue of efficiency people are talking about.
I don't know what I can come in
Yes,
briefly.
by all means.
My colleague doctor said INEC is overburdened with work at the moment. It is not true, because at the time the local government election is taking place, INEC is idle.
Are they really idle?
Yeah, no. What I'm trying to say is that INEC local government election comes at a different time from other national elections. So INEC has free time, to do that. I'm saying at that time, they are not conducting any of the elections at the federal level and at the state level. So they are available. And like I said, INEC already have the resources. The staffs are there, they are paying them. Most states don't even have money to pay their workers. Don't talk of pay money for another INEC. They don't have infrastructure. Like INEC already have ballot buses and everything. So going to say they want to take over is a bloody waste of time, bloody waste of resources. I think that if we give it to INEC, it's better, because INEC is more independent than all the states. And even if we say INEC election is not as free, it's not free, but it's much, much better, because INEC conducts election where you have opposition parties winning in some states. Governors be defeated, House of Reps, senators be defeated, and even presidency, shaky hand. So at least INEC have achieved some level of efficiency. We are not yet there, I agree. But it is better to allow INEC to take over. If it is a constitutional amendment, it's better,
I'm going to have to interrupt you, because we have to take a break at this moment.
Okay.
But when we come back, we'll examine further, because INEC might argue that they already support the state electoral commissions as it stands. They give them their register. They also support them with some materials. Will that be enough? And if there are going to be amendments, where should it be coming from? Who should be pushing for it? Okay. In a moment, please stay with us. Sorry. Dr. J. Samuels, I don't know what I was about to say, Dr. Joy. But Dr. J. Samuels, former National Chairman, Alliance for New Nigeria, ANN, and Honorable Ogene Ego, a member of the Ninth Assembly and also a member of ECOWAS Parliament, is still with us in the studio. And we're talking about reforms for state independent electoral commissions. After the visit to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, says he's looking at financial autonomy for state electoral bodies and also a streamlining of their laws. You were saying that INEC, you argue that INEC should take on the burden of organizing elections at the state level, because the elections that state electoral bodies have been conducting have been nothing to write home about.
Yes, and then secondly, the INEC already has the infrastructure.
Yes.
And the support, they have trained, they've done it several times. They are in every local government.
That's a supporting argument. So assuming the state electoral bodies were doing their work as they ought to, and everybody had confidence in it, will we be asking INEC to do it?
Yeah, because there will still be duplication of efforts. Because for INEC to have full complement of staff, they are paid regularly in the local government, and then the state to have the same thing, it's duplication of effort.
Let's not forget.
Because don't forget again that most of these states always claim they don't have resources. And you'll find out that in some states, they are owing salary for about 4, 5, 6 months. And if you bring INEC in a period when the state, if the election is not taking place, they may be owing these workers so much money that their morale will be down and you cannot be sure of what they will do. What I think states need to do is, when the election is coming, they can help to employ the ad hoc staff, for INEC.
Wouldn't that be problematic? Because we know just how much
they can work together.
Politician, you know how much controversy trails the employment of ad hoc staff during elections, and how INEC has to go through the eye of the needle to ensure that the staff are actually clean people.
That is it. But what I'm trying to say is that since you have INEC permanent staff who have financial independence already, they'll be able to control the ad hoc staff to do the writing. It's much better, you know, leaving all these states to conduct, to continue what they are doing. I'm afraid it will not lead anywhere.
Let me bring this in. There's also the argument about the system that you operate, the fact that we're a federal structure, the fact that states are supposed to be semi-autonomous bodies. Yes, indeed, they're still heavily dependent on the federal purse, and we're still looking to sharing all revenues. But the general idea behind our structure as we currently practice it is that the federal government should be at the top, the states are at the middle, and there's supposed to be a third tier, which is at the local government, which is supposed to be within the purview of the state. Wouldn't that distort if we're saying that, if things are not going right at the level of the states because they're not handling it as they ought to handle it, then we should put the burden on the federal government? Doesn't that distort our federal system somewhat?
Well, I don't think so, because what we are trying to do is to ensure that government is properly done. Because don't forget that at the election, if elections are not properly done, confidence is lost in the system. Even people want to pay tax, won't even think about paying tax, because those you are putting in the office are not even going to perform well. So individuals who live in the state and local government will lose confidence. Now, on the long run, yes, states should take over. But for the moment, it's very clear to us. The states have been given the opportunity to do it severally. All the states. It is very clear to everybody that the states are not capable of doing it. We can also have the argument to say, okay, local government is a different tier of government. Therefore, local government should also go and conduct the election on their own. What we are saying is that now that we have a measure of stability from INEC, let's allow INEC to do it for a couple of years. Maybe after some time, the states will be able to learn and take it over. But for the moment, all that the state government is doing is to take over all the local governments. That is all they are doing.
You do hear, you heard Dr. Samuels here talk about the seeming reluctance of INEC. And the
I don't think so.
INEC is already,
if the assignment is given to them.
We
when
know
you say body, they are not body. What I'm trying to say is that at the time local government election is taking place, INEC is not having any job at that time. INEC elections take place every 4 years.
Let's talk about it. Yes, indeed. Election takes place every 4 years. Yes. But we know that the preparations for elections should not be, during the period of when the elections are about to take place. That there ought to be continuous voter registration. That there's always litigation after elections. That there are off-season elections like this one that INEC is going to conduct in Kogi and Bayelsa. And that oftentimes INEC also has to take stock of where it currently stands and perhaps, have time to innovate for the elections that will come in the next 4 years.
Very good. But if you look at the system, whether it's the state doing it or not, it's INEC that provides the voters register.
Indeed.
Right? The ballot box is INEC that is producing it. All that the states are doing is getting somebody to write a result. That's all. Everything is done by INEC.
So in a way, have we not already minimized whatever inefficiencies could be there if INEC is already providing the state electoral, if it's already providing a register for the state, is already providing, helping with ballot boxes and cubicles that should be used for the elections. And maybe we don't know how far it's going to go.
Because what is happening is that the state INEC, they put people there who are their political cronies, who are not financially independent, and they put it there purposely for the purpose of writing election. Anybody who have gone through the local government election, you will know that there's no state that the existing governor does not win 100%. In every state. But when you do election conducted by INEC, you will find out that even if the city governor is here, an opposition party may win about half or even more of the local government election.
Shouldn't the cure
which is what happens everywhere.
Shouldn't the cure be in the law? I mean, yes, you're making your own proposition that, INEC should conduct. Even if that is going to happen, that is still going to be in the law. But INEC is also advocating, saying that there ought to be a streamlining of the laws guiding the conduct of state elections. Isn't that where parliamentarians like yourself come in? Perhaps also engage the state houses of assembly on this particular matter?
It's difficult. At the State House of Assembly, you know, the independence is very little. You can imagine we are at the national level. We said state House of Assembly should have financial independence so that they can do their work without interfering from the executive arm. They rejected it. The state house, same state House of
And
Assembly.
that is an election that INEC conducts,
Yeah.
not the election that is conducted by state electoral bodies. Are you saying that we're in a situation where nothing can be done?
Well, no, the thing is that it's a lengthy process. INEC is still trying to get it right. Let INEC do it. When they get it right, in future, then we can begin to devolve this power to the local government gradually. By that time, of course, like Mombu said, the states, SEC, you know, they should have financial autonomy, right? And the state government should have no power to fire or hire any here. Financial autonomy, once the people are put there, say House of Assembly approves, they should employ their own staff and do everything. But of course, they have to continue to collaborate with INEC for the election. But what worries me is that every 4 years, the states appoint somebody, a politician, whose only duty is to go there and write the result. And it doesn't help. That's why you see that
I'm sure if
most local government don't
if
perform.
we bring the chairman of state bodies, they would debate that and say, no, that we don't do that.
Well, but let them point to one state where a party other than the one the government is in power have lost a local government.
But
it's not there.
But the thing is that if you look at the mandate of the CX, it's more than just writing results. But we are all here having this discussion. I'm sure we all agree on one thing. We want a free and fair electoral process.
That is it.
We want the CX to be truly independent. But where we are different is how do we get this done? And this, for me, I want to look at it from another point of view, and that is because we tend to shy away from the truth or try to just apply palliatives here and there, and that's why. Because I know where it's coming from. Because if it's probably thinking, oh, we can't do it this way, let's go back and do it this way. But when we talk about restructuring, for instance, restructuring is not just the political restructuring that people mount. These are some of the issues that should be addressed by restructuring. We have to go back to the basics. When we are restructuring the country, when you have a truly federal system and all the different components are mandated and empowered to play their role, we won't be having this kind of discussion. Because now, it's just like us, we just see an open wound now. We just want to treat that wound. But there's something that is causing that wound. It might be diabetic related, it might just be a direct trauma or something like that. But unless we go back to the drawing board and look at what the issues are and look at restructuring the way it should be addressed, not the political restructuring, but the true restructuring that affects everyone, every aspect of the whether the concurrent list and all those lists. Let the different tier of government be mandated and empowered to play their role. Then, this kind of things will be limited. So, we are talking about INEC taking over the task of the CIEX. There are some people right now, as you speak, who are actually already advocating for INEC to be unbundled. That they are already,
too big.
Too big. Whether they are efficient or not is another thing. But that the mandate is too big. That the issue of registration should be removed from them. They should have a different body handling that. Now we're talking about, you are talking about 774 local government areas. Even if you just conduct and write results, it's not the main task. So it's not a small task. It's a thing that if you really want to get the desired results, you really need another INEC.
And that's not even taking on board litigations that might come on.
You need another INEC to handle that. So I think for me, we should just look at the wholesome electoral reform, then bear in mind what we call what's it called now again? Restructuring. That
restructuring, we have been told. You were saying that not the political restructuring, but we've heard several times that the restructuring that will be acceptable will be the one done through the National Assembly. So I put the question to Honourable here as to whether or not it's something that members of the National Assembly would like to look at, and he said it's not going to be easy. Because if this is a constitutional matter and it's going to go to the states, you know, to all the 36 states for them to approve, and then before it comes back to the National Assembly, do you think that there's going to be concurrence at that level that indeed INEC should, you know, conduct, or that there should be some reforms, so to speak, for state electoral bodies so that they could be truly independent?
No, I agree with him that it's difficult, but I mean, looking at it, because the way we will be looking at restructuring, because unfortunately, I don't know whether the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria is a very, very difficult situation. If it was some 20, 30 years ago, it would have been a bit, I mean, easier to. But now, you see people write laws or, approve bills and everything based on their own selfish interests, not national interests. Unless we're able to address that. And I don't know how we're going to do that, because there needs to be a total orientation. It's a change. Because the thing is that, do we want this country to work? If we truly want this country to work, I mean, he gave an example just now. You know what went into having those states assembly, I mean, being given autonomy. The past deputy national deputy senate president that led that process, going around all the states, and they were able to get that change. But the states said they don't want.
Same state house of assembly who are to benefit from it. He said, don't worry. Why? Because the governors are of our laws here.
Yeah. What I find interesting is that that is an election conducted by INEC, where you would have thought that you would have, you know, a multiplicity of voices, so to speak, in the state houses of assembly. After all, the elections are supposed to be free.
But what is happening is that most state houses of assembly don't have financial autonomy. So anytime they need to go to governor, and then the governor draws the string. So, and that was why, at the national level, we wanted all the states to have financial autonomy, or the House of Assembly. If they do, then they can act independently, just like the National Assembly. You know, the president cannot pull any string here. We work with the president as a team. We need everything to succeed, but it's not as if the president cannot control the National Assembly. That's how it should be in all the states. If it's like that in all the states, then those states will be able to help to make laws that can strengthen the state INEC, or SEC, as they call it. But if the House of Assembly are not independent, how can they make laws to make the state house, the state SEC independent? It's a problem.
Do you think this issue of efficiency, do you think that electronic voting might help? Fantastic.
It is the right thing to do.
Why are we reluctant to do it? Because one would think that now that elections are, the general elections are at least 3 years away or 4 years away, we should be planning towards, if that is something that we want to do.
I don't know whether we are reluctant to do it, because at the National Assembly, we had passed a law to say electronic voting should be done. And even before the last election, you know, we had an say that results from all the polling units will be sent to the center, you know. Now they are saying there's no cyber. I don't want to go into that, because those are court cases. But what I'm saying is that let's look at the next election, because there's need for credibility in election, because results are rigged at the collation centers. But if the results come straight from the polling unit, you don't even know who is winning yet. They fill in each polling unit, the results are immediately sent to the center. And then, of course, the cyber catches it, and every party will have an agent right there. As the results are being sent, you know, the parties also receive their result, polling unit by polling unit. By the time you feel electronically, it calculates, everybody gets his result. And then the system is clean. And if we have a system like that, and the election results, you know, are credible, it helps in so many things. Foreign investors will come in because there will be less strife. There will be more confidence in the system. And then it will reduce corruption. You know, jobs will come in.
So is this something that you're going to bring up again? I'm not sure, of course. But
well, no, the thing is with the president already. So we are still waiting for the president.
Didn't it lapse? Because he didn't sign it before that particular administration lapsed.
Well, the president have still assented to a few bills we passed on the 8th Assembly. You know, if it lapsed, of course, the president can say, well, because of the CD come in time, were not able to sign it the last time, National Assembly pass it again, send it to us, and then, of course, it's an easy thing for us to pass.
Let me
If they
ask
do
you,
that, it will help us a lot.
you have been the chairman of a party that will be regarded as small. They stand the most to benefit from reforms in the state electoral laws. Do you see any drive on their part, or do you think that, do you see any drive on their part to push for those reforms that could actually, on the long run, benefit not just them but also Nigeria's democracy?
Well, as a matter of fact, it is in anticipation of those kind of reforms that a party like ANN actually came to fore. We didn't come because we wanted to play with the normal, but we're hoping that there will be some kind of improvement in the electoral process whereby other people can have a level playing field, and parties like us can have our own chance. And because we didn't come to compete with those major parties, with the current voters, we were trying to create a new set of voters from people, and that will only come with reforms and those kind of things that we are advocating. Personally, I have kind of engaged the INEC chairman on this kind of things that I'm talking about here, but it seems INEC, they are not interested.
Interested in what? Reforms?
In the kind of reforms that we're talking about, providing a level playing field. For instance, even this electronic voting. Electronic voting is just one aspect of it. The process, like I say, because I keep on talking about the process of voting, starts from registration. There's a need to revamp that. You have to make it more transparent. You have to make it. I mean, we have during the election, during the registration, I was approached by people in INEC that they can tell you, if you do this, if you do this, they'll tell you where they'll bring the machine for you to register your own people. That's what the other people have been doing. And of course, that comes with financial whatever. So you already see that has been rigged from the very beginning. No, so these things, the reason why there's so many entrenched interests, let me put it like this, that benefits from the way this process is currently. You see hundreds of billions. I mean, when we say, okay, can we make this what I call universal voting? Can we make this process, registration and everything, make it more universal? Well, no, we talk about the diaspora. It's not just about the diaspora. It's about for you to be able to vote, to register and vote anywhere you are. The blanket answer was that it's too expensive. Now, it's too expensive. You are spending hundreds of billions to conduct an election year in, year out. Whereas this will be a one-off process that you pay or you whatever. I don't know how many billions it will be. We can look at it. But once you spend that fund for that period, then it will just be maintenance and running costs. But you prefer to be spending hundreds of billions every year.
Sorry, let me say something.
I'm afraid we're totally out of time. I'm so sorry, sir. There are definitely, grounds for us to engage INEC, especially on some of the things that you have raised and how.
Because we provided, National Assembly provided money the last time in the budget for INEC to do electronic voting, and I'm sure the law didn't come out, but I'm sure they would have gotten those equipment. So they should use it for the next two elections coming up.
Gentlemen, we wish you could go on and on. We have to thank both of you for sharing your thoughts and insights with us this morning on this particular matter. Dr. J. Samuels is former National Chairman, Alliance for New Nigeria, and Honorable Ogene Ego is a member of the 9th National Assembly and also a member of ECOWAS Parliament. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment to take your comments and tweets. Please stay with us.
All right, let's take a look at some of the messages that you've sent in. Well, this tweet actually comes from Ajulu Charles. Well, he's talking about what we started out with in the opening sequence. He says, the speaker at Unilag was apt. Our youths are greatly loaded and ready, but those who are supposed to mentor them for takeover are in serious rivalry with the young. The security and some elders see them as ready tools for vices.
Well, this next one is from Isioma Chibolu, and there you have it, saying, oh, well, let's take this one from Zemo instead.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess we'll have to go to Isioma. And it says the problem with Nigeria is that everyone wants all the decisions to come from Abuja. Why should INEC conduct all the state and local government elections? States should conduct their own elections in a true federalism. We are too Abuja-centric, according to this user. Just strengthen the institutions.
And this one is from Zimo. Says, as good as the new pacts signed between the Nigerian government and the Russians sound, many of the projects may not see the light of day. Question is, can we provide the enabling environment for any foreign investor to thrive? That's a question then. How about the local investors?
I'm not one. Don't look my way. Okay, so there you go. That is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, next week. We'll see you next week. Of course, the session will still be here. There'll be sunrise. So, there won't be sunrise days. I'm saying the same thing, really. Just semantics. So, have a good day. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Karaoke Kielu.
I am Ayo Makide.
And Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. We'll see you later tonight on Hard Copy.